Hey everybody, today we're going to draw a quick schematic of the male repro system, and we're going to do it on chubby little butter here. But before we begin, we need to think about the floor of the pelvis, because that's where this whole male repro system is centered around. So butter, if we think about his iliac crest and coming down to the ischiatic tuberosity, which would be generally in this area, that's going to give us a general idea of the floor of the pelvis, right? The pelvic floor, so the pelvic canal will be going dorsal to that, and that's what we're going to work around. So to begin with, we're going to start with the bladder, and we're going to situate the urinary bladder essentially as in everything cranial ventral to the pelvic inlet. So this would be one, this would be the urinary bladder. The next we're going to do is the prostate gland. So we're going to put the prostate gland as this large bilobed organ at the neck of the bladder in the pelvic canal. So that's going to be the prostate gland. The next thing we're going to draw is the urethra. So from the neck of the bladder where the prostate gland is associated, we're going to draw the urethra like this. It's going to go caudally, it's going to wrap around the ischiatic arch, and it's going to head cranially to the tip of the penis at the external urethral orifice. So this will be the urethra, and there'll be a pelvic part and a penile part. But we're just putting the schematic in here, and we're thinking about how this travels. So that will be the urethra. So next we have to draw the testes, and the testes is going to be, generally speaking, in the inguinal area, and it will be deep to the thigh, but we're going to draw it in here and imagine where the testes would be. So the testes is effectively going to be in this general area here, deep to the thigh in the inguinal region. So that represents the testes. And coming from the testes, we're going to draw quite simply the ductus deferens as it passes up and goes through into the abdomen through the inguinal canal. It's going to wrap around and access the prostate gland before terminating on the urethra. So that would represent the ductus deferens. As we said, one thing we want to think about is the inguinal canal. So as this passes into the abdomen, it's going to pass through the inguinal canal. And finally, then, the rectum, just to finish off like we did in the female, the association between things in the pelvic canal. You have the urethra, and the rectum would be dorsal to that. So this would represent the rectum. And again, the relationship is the rectum is dorsal to the pelvic urethra and prostate gland. So generally the importance of this is, again, just as a summary, this whole thing takes a big loop. You start from the testes, the ductus deferens comes in, inserts on the urethra, goes through the prostate gland, and it makes this loop around the pelvic floor, so it loops around the pelvic canal, and that's why many times the urethra is accessible through caudal surgeries.